Okay, guys. So some of the videos that I've done, I'm learning this stuff. I didn't have the sound levels and everything in my editing software correct, so the volume's really, really low, and some people can't hear them. So now I'm going to have to redo some of them so to be loud enough that people can listen. So the story I'm going to retell now is the great Sidney Dorman. I hope everybody in the world has a chance to meet Sidney Dorman. He's just an awesome guy to me. I love to sit with him and hear him talk. I love to hear his little quips. He has these quick little one-liners that are just solid gold. So, if you don't know who Sidney is, Sidney started the GMC dealership in Dunn. Before that, he was a tractor salesman at the Ford tractor dealership in Dunn. And before that, he was a banker, handled like loans and finances for a farm credit. I believe it was farm credit. And the whole time he's had a farm. So the kids and everybody, Joe and all them, help out on the family farm while Sidney's doing his stuff. And good businessman and just fun person. So, why do I love Sidney so much? I would go to the dealership and get parts for Wade or drop off a vehicle at the Cadillac place. And Sidney would be in there sometimes. And if you got the chance to catch Sidney when he was in a talking mood, and he talked, but like when he was in a BS mood, it was just solid gold. Solid gold. So one day I go to the dealership, and if you've been to the dealership, there's a big round like desk in the middle that's beautiful. It's like an artist or architectural desk. And supposedly salesmen are supposed to sit in there and wait on the next customer. Most guys are at their little cubicles or their desk, and no one's sitting in there, but Sidney would sit there. So I go up one day, and Sidney's just sitting there. It's right after lunch, probably 1:30, and not a lot of people are on the lots. The salesmen are in there, and Sidney's just holding court. He's talking, telling jokes, making quips. Everybody's laughing. So I walk up there, and I go, "Hey, Sidney, how's it going?" He said, "It's good, it's good." And I said, "What are you up here preaching about today?" He said, "I was just telling these fellas about my lunch." So someone had asked Sidney how his lunch was, because he had left and went home for lunch. And he comes back and says, "Well, I tell you what, bad times. I went home, went to eat my food, and it was cold." He said, "I reached out, put my hand on that table, just knocked that food slam off up against the wall. And I told my wife, Shirley, I ain't eating this cold food, and you need to reheat it or recook it. I worked too hard, I ain't eating no cold food." And they said, "Well, what in the world, Sidney?" He said, "She got up and cooked me some food. It's my house. I rule the roost around there." Sidney is totally joking. He's just trying to cut some laughs. Everybody's snickering. Ha ha ha. We all have laughs. Sidney's cool. As the rules of life would have it, Shirley calls the dealership about 2 o'clock to find Sidney or ask him a question. Sidney has hired someone to work at this dealership that I used to go to school with. I'm not going to name his name, but I will tell you, wasn't the smartest person in the history of Midway High School. The kid just wanted to sell cars. He wasn't going to be an engineer at NC State. So Shirley calls in, and he answers the phone because he's a salesman. First person to answer the phone can get that sales lead. And he's like, "Dorman GMC?" And she said, "Yeah, it's Shirley. I need to speak to Sidney." He says, "Well, Miss Shirley, are you okay?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm okay." "Well, Sidney was telling us about knocking your food off and slapping you and everything because the food was cold. I don't know how you put up with it, man." And Shirley's just taken aback by this. So I go to the dealership the next day. I've got to pick up some parts, drop something off, whatever. But when I go up there, Sidney's now sitting in that round desk assembly, and he's a lot sadder. He's all humped down. So I go up there and I say, "Hey man, what's going on with you? You look all sad." Son, it's a time in this country." So what's wrong, Sidney? "Do you know so-and-so?" I said, "Yeah, I know him. That's that boy that worked there." I said, he ain't none too bright, actually, Sidney. He said, you telling me? I said, boy, I was up here just cutting a joke. My wife calls, and that rascal tells her everything I said. I said, oh man, Sidney. I said, are you in trouble? He said, son, I'm in the doghouse for sure. And so we, like to this day, I don't know why that dude thought that what Sidney was saying was true or was real. You know, he's just cutting a joke. Like us guys, if you girls don't know this, us guys get in a circle and we will have the biggest BS competition you've ever had in your life. We ain't trying to lie, but it just comes naturally when you're hanging out with the dudes. So whatever. So Sidney's in trouble. Another Sidney story. So I get a divorce. I love my neighbors and everything, but I just sometimes feel like I don't fit in. Like I don't want to just go to their house on a holiday like Thanksgiving or Christmas, because that's their people, that's their family. And I've, in some ways, like the Adams next door and the Dormans, I feel like I'm part of them, but I don't want to impose. But Joey, love him to death. He's been nothing but good to me. Joey says, man, Christmas, you come to the house now. We're going to have a big Christmas breakfast. And a big Christmas breakfast, and you come be part of it. He says, and Pops will be there. I was like, Pops will be there? I'm going. I got to go get me some Sidney Dorman time. So I get there, and Sidney and Shirley sitting in this big leather love seat side by side, like dual recliners. And they've left a little nice open wooden chair for me. So I go sit beside Sidney. And I'm like, hey, man, how you doing? Merry Christmas. Blah, blah, blah. We're talking. And I say, Sidney, how's it going? He said, boy, it's a time. And I'm like, yeah. What do you mean it's a time, Sidney? He said, you see that woman right there beside me? Yeah. He said, when I married her, I thought enough of her and her daddy that I went and told her dad I was marrying her. He said, I went right up to him and I said, sir, I just want to tell you, I think I'm in love with your daughter and I want to ask you for permission to marry her. That guy says, no problem, Sidney. Let me tell you about that girl. That's the best daughter I have. She is smart. She's pretty. She does everything I ask. I couldn't have asked for a better child. And Sidney, I'm going to tell you, you marry her, but if something ever happens and you don't want her no more, you bring her right back. I don't mind having my daughter back. Sidney goes, all right, sir. So they get married. Sidney's told me this, right? Then he gets all quiet. And I'm like, all right, Sidney, what happens? He looked at me and said, you know that rascal died on me a few months later? And I'm just telling you, that is a Sidney Dorman quip right there. So good. And I just love them. I love all the Dormans. They're good to me. They're good people. And thank God they've helped me through some times in my life. So that's good.